Hello and welcome to Polyglot Podcast. I'm Christian from Finland, your host, and today we have Ryan from Singapore. So, welcome, Ryan.
Hello.
I found you on Twitter, like I've found many of my guests. Like some of my guests I've found on Twitter, some Instagram, Tumblr, like many different social medias. And I saw that you share really interesting language-related stuff. So I wanted to invite you and speak about your language background, but also about the linguistical situation in Singapore and the language education in Singapore. So let's start. So what year were you born?
I was born in 1999.
99. Okay. I asked this because, different generations in the same country have usually total different experiences in language learning. For
Mm.
example, in Finland, people like I was born in 1990, but my youngest sister is born like 2009. So, and the education system has changed a lot. So okay, you were born in 1999.
Mm.
Um, and I guess in Singapore there is only one. It's only one city or Singapore
Yeah,
city?
Singapore is like really small, so it's really hard to find us on the map because we are just like really just a red dot on the map. So it's pretty hard to find it. So in Singapore, we actually don't really have something like a capital because it's just that small.
Yeah. So basically in Singapore, when you speak with other Singaporeans, do you talk about the region inside the Singapore city or Singapore, or like to understand geographically where someone is located?
Yeah, definitely. Because well, Singapore is really very, very small in that uh you can take the train from one end to the other end is about just an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess when somebody says that they are from a particular place, we would know that they are it's not really like a I wouldn't even call it a region because it's Singapore is just that small. We'll just call
Yeah,
it
yeah,
like
yeah.
maybe just like the street names or
A
something like that.
street name. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. So basically, you know all the street names of the country, maybe, or
Yes, yeah, the major street names, yeah.
and where are you from? Or
I would consider myself a bit more like central of Singapore. Yeah, but it's more, I guess, arguably a bit more northeast. But yeah, it's still relatively near to everywhere. Just for some context, like in Singapore, I would say that anywhere that's like a 10-minute walk, anybody would call that far away.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's yeah, I can imagine it's a bit different there compared to Finland because I live now in northern Finland in Lapland in Rovaniemi. The city is Rovaniemi and the province is Lapland, which is the same size as South Korea, but we
Hmm.
only have 120,000 people. And here, people are used to like if they live in a small village, they are used to drive maybe 1 2 hours somewhere, and it's close here. So,
Hmm. So I just did a Google search and Lapland is actually larger than Singapore.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Lapland
Yeah.
is probably 1,000 times or 10,000 times bigger. What's the area of Singapore
So the
in
area of
square?
Singapore is about 700 square kilometers.
700. I think Lapland is 93,000.
Ah, okay.
So it's like
A lot more.
almost 2,000, like yeah, 1,500 times at least bigger.
Mm,
But Singapore has around, you have also around 5 million total population.
yeah.
Yeah, we have in Finland the total is 5.5 or 6. So
Mm,
it's quite sparsely populated, the country.
I think Singapore is closer to 6 this year.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Mm.
Um, so what languages were spoken in your home when
In
you
my
were,
home,
yeah,
okay, so I'll answer that in terms of like in my home and in Singapore. So like in my home, we speak English, Chinese, Chinese as in Mandarin Chinese, as
yeah.
well as Cantonese. Yeah. In
Oh,
Singapore, for context, actually all of us we learn English in school as a main language, and then we also have to learn a second language, which is known as our mother tongue. We call it mother tongue, which
yeah,
I guess other people would call that their native language, which is a bit confusing when we say it to other people. But essentially, the mother tongue is more of related to our cultural background because in Singapore we have different races together here. So we have like the Malays, we have the Indians, we have the Chinese, as well as the Eurasians. So in school, we would have to learn English as well as one of a pool of languages which is dependent on your cultural background. So it could be Mandarin, Malay, or Tamil, or any of the Indian languages, and a few others. Yeah.
yeah. But are the official languages English, Mandarin, Tamil, and Malay?
Yeah.
Uh, but are there still a lot of people who speak maybe Cantonese like in your family, besides Mandarin and maybe like other Indian languages?
I would say that because Cantonese is more of like I guess like we can consider it a dialect of Chinese. So different different Chinese people come from different dialect groups. So I would say in Singapore the majority dialect that is spoken would be, I guess, Cantonese, Hokkien, as well as Teochew among a group of other languages, a group of dialects, I guess. So I can understand Teochew and Hokkien,
Yeah,
but the main one that is spoken at home is Cantonese. Yeah.
yeah. Is it do both of your parents speak Cantonese or the other one Mandarin and the other one Cantonese, or how is it?
Oh, so my parents speak uh my parents speak both Mandarin as well as Cantonese, and they also can speak the Hokkien as well as Teochew. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So were they born in Singapore?
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. What about your like grandparents? Were they from southern China, or were they also born in Singapore, like present day Singapore?
Yeah. So my grandparents came from I think it's a mix like Singapore and then also from China. They came over. Yeah, so that's where I guess that's where the dialects came from because uh back when we were like when Singapore was still building itself up, people came from different parts of the world to Singapore. That's where the different dialect groups would come from in a sense.
Yeah.
Mm.
Uh, so which one of all of those languages was the first one your parents spoke to you, like when you were an infant, like
When I was growing up, okay,
yeah,
so when I was growing up, because my parents subscribed to the notion that we should only speak to the children in one language for fear that
yeah,
we will get confused.
yeah,
So my parents actually spoke to me in Mandarin first. Yeah, and then subsequently, I guess the idea behind this was that because we all had to learn English in school anyway,
yeah,
so and everyone would be speaking English. So why not we start speaking to me in Mandarin? So I would start learning Mandarin at home, and slowly I'm gonna learn English anyway.
yeah,
So
yeah,
might as well.
yeah. That sounds good. I have a 10-month-old baby son, and I speak Finnish, of course, with my son, and my wife, who's from southern Ukraine, Odessa, she speaks only Russian. So
Mm,
because we also know that he will definitely learn English and Swedish in school here in Finland,
mm,
and probably more languages because me and my wife are both huge language nerds. So I guess he will
Yeah.
because we have been taking our child also to these language cafe meetings a few times, and I had a language
Mm.
quiz for my friends, and like
Wow.
I'm sure he will be immersed with different languages around him. So, but yeah, we wanted to give our own native languages to him. So,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good start actually because I think it has been debunked in the past few years about the idea of speaking only one language because the child actually doesn't get confused. So I think it's a good start. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I know many families where they speak only maybe one language, even though the other parent is speaks some other native language. And
Mm.
I agree. It's good if they get both of their parents' native languages, because yeah, according to research that I've heard, that in the beginning, the first, let's say 6, 7 years, maybe their speech is a bit behind their peers, but then when they enter school and they are a bit older, they catch up and they like get the advantages of having two native languages.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. I think there was one book that I read. I forgot what the title of the book is, but it mentioned that it would be best to raise the child up in an environment where there are different different sounds, like it comes from like I guess different like for Mandarin we have the tones,
Yeah.
which seems to be the hardest part for non-Mandarin speakers, actually
Hmm.
non-Asian language speakers, because the idea of tones don't come naturally to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so at least if there is like a diversity in the kind of sounds that we introduce to the child, they would be able to grasp them a bit earlier on and maybe try to mimic them. So it is easier to pick up later on as well.
Yeah, yeah, sounds logical. Like a lot of large phoneme inventory, maybe something like that.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, what languages did you hear in your childhood? What can you remember? Like the time before you entered maybe school or like early days in school.
I guess when I was young, because I also grew up I grew up with my grandparents as well. So in a sense, I would also have heard notions of Cantonese, Teochew, as well as Hokkien, because my grandparents mostly spoke in these dialects rather
Oh,
than
okay.
Mandarin and English. And at the same time, because I guess their I guess their spoken command of English and Chinese is not that strong. So my parents, and my grandparents also felt that as opposed to speaking in broken English or in like weird structured
Yeah,
languages to me, it would be better if they just spoke in whatever language that they knew. So I wouldn't
yeah.
pick up bad habits at the same time. Mm.
So your grandparents mostly spoke Cantonese, or was it a mix of Cantonese, Teochew, Hokkien?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. How close are these languages? I've had a Teochew native speaker on my podcast before, but and he also spoke Cantonese, Mandarin, Hokkien, Teochew. But how close are Cantonese, Hokkien, Teochew to each other?
How close are they to each other? I guess I would say that um I think Cantonese is a bit different from Hokkien and Teochew, but Hokkien and Teochew tends to be a bit similar to one another, just that um, some people would say that Hokkien sounds like a bit more, okay, maybe not that, but Teochew sounds a bit more like softer. Yeah, I don't know how to relate that. Like maybe Hokkien sounds like you are trying to fight with someone, but Teochew sounds a bit more like okay, we have a calm conversation.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
In terms of vocabulary and maybe the number of tones or something like that, are the differences big? And
Okay. I guess yeah. So for Teochew and Hokkien, the vocabulary is kind of similar, just that the way that it is like said out, Hokkien sounds a bit like like more angry, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Yeah. That's the main difference I would say, because I think for these, okay, maybe Cantonese has a because in Hong Kong they still speak it. But Teochew and Hokkien is more like I don't know whether there's a formal way to teach or learn it, because I've never learned any of this formally in
Yeah.
school. So it's mostly just I learned it by hearing other people say. Yeah. So I don't know how many tones there are, but I heard
Yeah.
that for Cantonese there are like 6 tones. But there was once my friend asked me what the 6 tones are, and I was like, I don't know what the 6 tones are. I know how to
Yeah,
say it though.
yeah, yeah, I understand. Uh, can you maybe give a few examples in those three languages? Maybe you can think of a greeting or one word that you could like give us in all the different languages. So maybe we can see the difference or if it's the same.
Okay. Maybe I guess for to show the difference in the tone, maybe for Hokkien versus Teochew, for to say like I wouldn't really translate it to no, but the idea of negative, right? So in Chinese, in Mandarin Chinese, you would say like bu. Uh,
Yeah,
and then in Cantonese, we would say mo.
Mon,
Yeah, mo. And then
Mon,
for like mow the lawn, mow the lawn, like mo.
Mon. Okay,
Yeah. And then for Hokkien, we would say bo.
Bo,
Yeah. And in Teochew, we would say bo.
Bo.
Yeah.
Okay, a bit different. In Mandarin, it's like the falling like bu.
Mm,
Yeah, I could hear something, some differences. I've actually studied Mandarin since 2016, like
mm,
on and off.
mm,
So it's definitely not super good, but I can understand something. So
mm.
yes, the tones are a bit tricky for a
Yeah.
non-native. It was my first tonal language also, so
Mm.
yeah, it's hard.
I think the idea of tones is actually like even as a Mandarin speaker, and I know like the 4 tones, and so like now I'm actually also learning Vietnamese. Like I just started like I think like 2-3 weeks ago,
Yeah,
but Vietnamese also has like a series of tones, but because I'm not used to those tones, so
yeah,
that
yeah,
also comes like those new tones to me are also like, oh, okay, now there's
yeah.
a new way to make a tone.
I heard like depending on how you count, they have 9 to 12 or something like that. I've seen different numbers for Vietnamese, but that they
Mm,
definitely have much more tones than
and
Mandarin.
Mandarin. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
What is
definitely.
what are the different tones in Vietnamese?
Um,
Were
okay,
they
yeah.
like the mix of some tones that are in
Yeah,
Mandarin?
yeah, yeah. So
Some
there's
from,
that. I think there's like a mix. There's a rising tone. There is also one that goes like up and down.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's like I think to illustrate that up and down one, I think there's this word like ngủ. Yeah, so you actually have to, you kind of like visualize it as going
Yeah.
up and down. So ngủ. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, for me as a child, when I heard Vietnamese or Thai, I thought that it sounded like the language of like cats or something. It was like
Mm.
it was really hard to grasp from the languages. It's
Yeah.
like it's so the words are, I would say, so ambiguous. Like you don't, well, especially before even starting Mandarin, when I had
Mm.
no knowledge about any tonal language. But even now, I think Mandarin is not that bad. But when I hear Vietnamese or some other, I think Vietnamese
Different
is
language.
probably one of the hardest tonal languages, and I'm like, okay, I might try it someday in my life, but I will definitely not try to master Vietnamese because it's too late for me. I'm 30 this year 34. I would need the whole lifetime for that.
Yeah, I feel like which also falls back to the idea that I mentioned earlier, to expose the child to more sounds at the start, because it's only like now when you hear these kinds of different languages, they are like, oh, actually I can actually make this sound.
Yeah,
But now it's like, where do I get that sound from?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe we should go to Vietnam or Southeast Asia soon and spend a few years so
Hmm.
our child can get like the phoneme inventory.
Yeah, exactly.
In Singapore, when you were a child, what like TV channels did you have, and in which languages were they? And
Okay. So in Singapore, we have so at the start when I was growing up, of course we had like the channels that were available on the TV are like the free ones. Are like, there's a kids channel, which is in English, and then there is a Mandarin Chinese channel. Actually, there are two of them. There are two Mandarin channels. And then there's a Malay channel, there's a Tamil channel, and there's a think there is a news channel, and there's also an English channel. Yeah.
did you ever watch the like Malay or Tamil shows or?
Yeah, I used to just watch like all of them, because I think they started at different times of the day. And clearly, as a child, back in those days, there was no other form of entertainment other than,
Yeah,
we don't have like phones and all that, right?
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
the TV was, I guess, other than reading books and whatever, the TV was a main source of entertainment. So the kids channel, I think, usually started at I think on the weekends the kids channel starts at about 9 a.m. So before that, if you really wanted to watch the TV, you would have to watch one of the other channels.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you maybe picked up some Tamil Malay words while
Yeah,
watching
yeah,
TV.
yeah. And I feel like the thing is, because in Singapore, I don't know whether you've heard, but I don't know whether you can call it like a variant of English, but it's we in Singapore we speak
Singlish?
Singlish, right? Yeah, so actually Singlish is made up of a lot of different words from different languages, and sometimes nobody knows what the origin of those words
Yeah,
are,
yeah,
but
yeah.
they say it, and then we're like, oh, we know what it means, but we don't know where it comes from. Yeah.
What was la, le, la, la?
Yeah.
One of the most famous ones. Like
Yeah.
it makes the phrase a question or
Mm. Yeah. So I think depending on whether you say la, I think the three most common ones are like la, le, and law. So
yeah. Okay, I didn't know about those other ones.
yeah, so this is like it kind of brings out it adds a dimension of feeling to the sentence. Like you could say the same sentence, and if you end off with a different like la le law, it means something that's different.
Yeah. Uh, do all of those three may transform the sentence in a question or
You could say you could transform into a question, or it could also just be used in a sentence.
can you give me
Yeah,
an
so I can give you an
example?
example.
Yeah.
Like okay, like for example, uh okay, like for example, if I say, um, just do it lah, right?
Yeah.
So just do it lah is like,
Yeah.
you have this sense of you just want to do it, just want to just do it lah, just do it
Yeah.
lah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then if you say like something like I do it, uh I do it like that. Do it. Okay, no. Oh, okay, something like uh I don't know. Wait, no. I didn't know you had to do it like that. Like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
wait, okay, then no,
Okay.
that sounds a bit too English. Uh, okay, something like not like that, leh. Right. So not like that, leh
Yeah.
means like like you don't really know whether it is like that, whether it's to be done like this, or there might be something else. But you're just suggesting, I don't really know whether it is like that, you know?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we just soften it to not like that, leh.
Yeah. So like it softens also the
Mm,
tone. Okay.
yeah. And then the final one, law, is more of like, I would say it's something like it's like you just resign to it, you know, you just say like that law, like that law. You're just resigning, oh, okay, it's just like that, you know, it's just like that. Like that law.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I would just need to spend a month or two in Singapore and see how people use
Yeah,
those
yeah, yeah.
interjections.
It's actually quite hard for non non-Singlish speakers to try to pick up these feelings.
Yeah.
But then it's also hard for us to explain because we're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's how we feel.
Yeah. I actually had a lot of guests from Singapore here in Lapland
Mm,
last winter when I was a Northern Lights guide. But
mm,
I think they probably were aware that they were like now traveling and was talking with other Singaporeans because I couldn't hear them using la or lo le
mm, mm, mm,
those. Uh, of course, I heard the slight difference in the like intonation, but
mm.
otherwise it was just total like normal English without those um, words typical to Singlish.
Mm.
But
I don't
I
know whether
guess
it's I don't know whether it's I don't know whether it's like a travel thing when people go to another country and then I don't know, we just naturally code switch or something
maybe,
to
yeah.
something so that we don't I guess I don't know whether it's a fear that people know that we are tourists, but I mean,
Yeah.
look at the person, you're like, yeah, I know you're a tourist.
No, here in Lapland, all of the people were tourists, and here in
Yeah.
Rovaniemi, so that's not a fear they should have here, but because not that many people even come to Rovaniemi, like Finnish people during the
Mm,
winter season, especially in December, because it's super expensive. Like
mm.
no Finns come here. It's mainly only foreigners. I didn't have any Finnish guests during the winter season.
Okay.
So yeah, maybe it's just the code switching then.
Yeah, I guess it's the code switching.
Yeah. And how much friends did you have from different ethnic backgrounds? How is it in Singapore? Because I read the book of Lee Kuan Yew, the huge 700-page
Oh.
biography, like maybe 10 years ago. And I can remember he designed cities so that like they are like all from all the groups from the
Mm.
Chinese, Indian, and Malay, like the neighborhoods. Because
Yeah, so
yeah,
historically, when in our nation building, like when we were founded, uh, the founders actually split up Singapore into the different ethnicities. So, but then we didn't want that because that would like towards our independence, and after that we realized that that would be a problem if the different races just form their own communities on their own.
yeah,
So after that, in our public housing, we have this policy whereby there must be a mix. I think there's a proportion somewhere, but I don't remember the numbers. But there is a proportion that has to be met for each of the, I think even in the levels, I think it's the levels. Each level has to have a certain proportion of the ethnic groups inside. Yeah, so that is one way that we try to promote racial cohesion in public spaces. And of course, I mean, yes, we still have our own like Little India, Chinatown, and all these kinds of places, but um, generally everybody goes everywhere. So
yeah,
that's great. For me, I would say that the majority of my friends are Chinese. And I do have a significant number of Malay friends as well as uh, Indian friends. So I think that's great. That might also be, I don't know, maybe it's because when I was in school, I attended like I was in this kind of school called it's called a SEP school, where we kind of offer, where it's more of like if you go into these kind of schools, you have to take Mandarin Chinese as your mother tongue. So that might also have contributed to why a big number of my friends when I was growing
Oh,
up are Chinese.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Not that there would not be like other races in those schools. Of course,
Mm,
there in my year, actually I think there were a few like mixed race children, like where their parents, one of them is Chinese and the other one is another race. So in the end, they they end up learning Chinese as they grew up. Yeah, so that is it. But as I grew up later on, I guess when I went to work, or when I was in the army, when I was when I was on Twitter and all that, so I started to and when I started going for language classes also, then I started to have friends from uh other ethnicities, like more at least. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. In school, was all the education in English, and then you had just the mother tongue classes like a few times a week, or how was it?
Yeah, so actually our mother tongue is considered as one of the other examinable subjects. So it's equally important as all the others. So we have the same number of contact time in class as with all the other subjects. All the
Yeah.
other Only the mother tongue is taught in that language. Everything else is taught in English.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's what I was
Mm.
thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. Because when
Uh,
we were, I guess when during nation building, since Singapore is a relatively young nation, during nation building, when the bilingual policy was put in place, um, I think it was put in place by Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. His idea was that English would be like sort of the working language in that first because I guess for in terms of business, in terms of development and all that, at least speaking English would be an advantage to when we communicate with other nations. Because well, we are Singapore, we are very small, we still depend on other nations because we are just so small,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Uh, but then for cultural reasons, uh, oh wait, sorry. Yeah, so the first reason is that the second reason for English is also that to promote communication between the different ethnic groups. Because if everybody just spoke their own mother tongue, then we would not be able to talk to each other.
mm,
Yeah. Then after that, the mother tongue came in as more of be able to link back to your cultural roots. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. How old are you when you start school, like first, like elementary school, first grade? Is it 6 or 7 years, or?
Um, so we start. Okay, this is not for I don't know. I don't know what is the current policy for uh kindergarten, but back when I was growing up, I don't think it was a must. But I started school when I was in wait, so K2 is K2 is 6 years old.
Mhm.
K1 is 5, and 2 is 4. Yeah, so you could technically start going to kindergarten from 3 years old.
Yeah, yeah, not kindergarten, but the first grade of elementary school. Uh,
Oh, like okay, so after kindergarten, we would go to primary school. Primary one would be at when we were 7 years old.
7. Okay, it's the
Yeah,
same here, 7.
yeah.
But in some countries it's 6, like in England, where I actually lived 1 year when I was 6 years old, and
Mm.
after that, 3 years in Estonia. Uh, so I can remember when I was 6, and I was like, "Yay, still 1 year to relax." But then my aunt, who came with us for a few months to live there, she said, "Okay, in a month you will be there," because we could see my school building from our window. And I was like, "What are you talking about? I'm 6 years old. I still have a year to relax." And she was like, "No,
Mm.
no, no. In England, you start at the age of 6." And I was devastated. I was like,
So that like be it in Finland or wherever you grew up in, was it based on your birthday or what to determine that?
in Finland, it's based on birthday. So everyone born in 1990 should have started school in 1997.
Yeah,
But
okay, it's the same
in
here. Yeah.
yeah, but in England it was 6 years old. And then after the year in England, we moved to Estonia. And Estonia is a bit, it's almost the same as in Finland, but it's they everyone who is born in, like, who has their seventh birthday in that, like, semester, that school
Mm,
year,
yeah.
will enter first class. So that's why
Also,
half
people can
half
start at
yeah,
different
so
times.
then half of the people born in 1990 start 1 year and the other half in this next
Okay.
year, because
Yeah,
it's like that.
I have a friend from another country who follows that same system. Because he's born relatively later in the year, so he joined school later than everyone else.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So my birthday is in October, and I think there were people who were maybe even 1 year older than me, or
Mm.
something like that. I don't know the system now in Estonia, but yeah, that's how it was.
Mm.
So in your school time, when you started first grade at the age of 7,
Mm.
were you able to speak English already, or did you
Yeah,
learn it there?
yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
could speak English. Yeah, because
Okay.
we in kindergarten we already started
Oh, yeah,
English.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And you went to kindergarten when you were 3 or 4.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah, around those ages. I don't remember when I started, but should be around those ages. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, here I think the minimum is like 1, or yeah, after 1 year old. But
Mm.
here the kindergarten is not that, it's, like, the kids have fun. Maybe when you're 6 years old, they start 5 or 6, they start teaching how to write and
Mm.
other stuff. But I've heard it's really strict in Asian countries, and especially like maybe Japan, South Korea, Singapore. How is it in the kindergarten?
Um, I guess it really depends on what kindergarten you are from because we have public kindergartens that are opened by the government.
Yeah,
And then there are also those kindergartens that are open like by yeah, they have those private ones like those I think it's called the Eaton House or something like that. There are different kinds. So I guess because there's no okay, maybe kindergarten is not say I think kindergarten is not compulsory. So everybody just follows whatever they want to do.
yeah,
So it really depends. But I guess in general, I guess towards as you mentioned, I think towards the later years, like maybe when you're 5 and 6, they start teaching definitely they start teaching you a bit more important things that are relevant to what you
yeah.
would start doing in first grade.
So you
Yeah.
you you could already count and
Yep.
read, I
Mm.
guess.
Yep.
Yeah, I think here also they teach like basic math and alphabet, but because it's
Mm.
also here not mandatory, I didn't go to kindergarten because my mom was with us, with me and my
Mm.
little sister. So when I started school in England, I couldn't read at all. I couldn't even speak English.
Okay.
And then I didn't learn to read during the 1 year. And then in
Mm.
Estonia, I had to start over, and I had to redo like first grade because I didn't learn
Ah.
anything in
Okay.
England. And I couldn't read there, but my
Mm.
my my sister could, because I think she went 1 year to kindergarten in
Mm.
Estonia. So when she started first grade, I think she could already, yeah, she could already read. But I learned to read on second grade when everyone else could already. But I mean, yeah,
Okay. Understand.
yeah. And after English, what was the first like foreign language you started learning in primary school or later?
Okay, so for us, so in primary 6, which is when we are 12 years old, we have this thing known as the PSLE, which is the primary school leaving exam, which all 12-year-olds have to take to
Yeah.
determine what school you would go to in secondary school.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. And that grade also, okay, back in my, I don't know about now, but back in my time, that grade also determines whether you can take a third language when you are in secondary school.
Really? So if you didn't do well, you couldn't take a third language?
In a sense, yes, because in secondary school, we all have to take like I think at least 7 subjects. So I think the fear is that if you take on a third language, because that would also be another examinable subject, the fear is that you cannot cope with your other subjects.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the workload, it's more of the workload issue.
Yeah, okay.
Mm.
Did
Yeah,
you have
but
a
in secondary school, the languages that are offered are I think it is so we have the I think it's called like okay, the foreign language department has French, German, Japanese, and Spanish. And then I forgot what they call the other one, but the other department offers um Indonesian, Arabic, Malay, and Mandarin Chinese, I think. Yeah.
yeah. Did you take any optional languages?
Yeah, so I took French in secondary school for 6 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm.
So you started that when you were
When
12
I was
or
13.
13? 13, so after like
Yeah.
completing
After completing, yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, here we don't have after like when we are it's also 12 or 13. We enter like the middle school.
Mm.
Uh we don't have any like final exam, but for certain middle schools there are some certain like
Assessments.
specializations and maybe some exams if
Ah.
it's like if you want to be in a sports class or
Mm.
something like that or
Mm.
with more sciences but we mostly have um, after completing middle school when we go to high school then it's really hard because you have to we don't have any final exams after middle school, but it's about the average, like the GPA, yeah,
GPA.
the
Okay.
GPA. So based on your GPA, you can choose where to go. And
Mm.
I guess in Singapore after middle school, do you have also like again the final exams and then you have to apply to high
Yeah,
schools?
so actually for us, our secondary school is about 4 to 5 years. We have back in our time, we had different tracks based on the exam that you take when you're 12. But now in the current system, they're trying to not have these different tracks because I guess they felt that these different tracks tended to result in people who are a bit more, I guess it's either elitist, they have an elitist attitude, or that um some people who scored lower in that final examination in primary school, actually they might be just weak in maybe like 1 or 2 subjects, which cause them to pull down their grade, but they're
Hmm.
actually much better in the other two. So
Yeah,
now we are offering like different levels for each of the subjects that you take. So if you are weaker in say like math, you could take math at a lower level. But if you are good in languages, maybe you could take languages at a higher level in that sense. So it offers a bit more flexibility in secondary school as opposed to whatever we had last time.
yeah.
Yeah. But
Uh,
generally, after the 4 or 5 years, we would take the GCE O levels, which we have in collaboration with Cambridge. Yeah, so it's similar exam to the one that they do in the UK,
yeah,
just that we have our own twist to it.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then that exam determines another pathway, like whether you can go to the polytechnic or you go to something that we call the junior college or pre-university. Yeah.
Yeah.
So from there you can diversify again. Yeah, so we offer like a lot of different tracks for,
Yeah.
for our students based on your results.
Yeah. So the pre-university is like the high school level or the
Yeah.
vocational. Yeah, yeah. We have also the same. Like in high school, it's more like theory based, and people who will go to university to go to high school.
Mm.
But then we have the vocational school where
Mm.
you can learn to be a hairdresser, a
Mm.
plumber, or electrician, or something like that. So
Mm.
maybe something a bit similar.
Something similar, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. How many years was each level? Here it's like 6 years, middle school 3 years, and then high school. High school you can choose three, 3.5, or 4, and then university and the higher education.
So for us, primary school is 6 years, and then secondary school is about 4 to 5 years, depending. So back in my time, based on the stream that you were in,
Yeah.
it will be 4 to 5 years. And then if you choose to go to pre-university, that will be 2 years. And then
Oh, okay.
if you choose to go to the polytechnic, that will be 3 years.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
We also have another kind which is which is known as ITE. So that is known as, okay, the name for that is called the Institute of Technical Education. So that one tends to be a bit more I guess more vocation based. Whereas the polytechnic, when you graduate from the polytechnic, actually you obtain a diploma,
Yeah.
which allows you to basically apply for a job immediately lah. But for pre-university, those grades generally, I guess most of the people who go to a pre-university would apply directly to the university. Not that if you were from the other tracks, you cannot go to the university. Just that I guess the end goal might be a bit different for each of these people who take
Mm,
these pathways.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. Um, I have one question about. Forgot. Wait. So my brain froze because I was thinking, I was simultaneously listening and then thinking the question. So um, I guess, well, whatever. We'll just continue. So you had during your like the middle school level, or like
Mm.
what was it called? Like the
Secondary
five
school.
secondary school. You had
Mm.
5 years English, and then in the next level also 1 year still, or no, French. I mean.
French. So I took French in secondary school for 4 years, and then I decided to continue taking French when I was in the junior college.
Oh, okay, yeah,
So
yeah,
that was 4 and 4 plus 2, so a total of 6 years.
yeah.
Mm.
And after that, which did you start any new languages during those years?
No, actually, I only started learning a new language after finishing school. Because for guys, in Singapore, we have to serve 2 years of national service, which is to go to it's either you go to the army or you go to the
Civil service?
civil defense, which is like to be a firefighter or the police. Yeah,
Yeah.
one of these three. So I went to the army for 2 years, and in those 2 years, because apart from of course whatever we do in the army, I picked up another language, which was I picked up uh I picked up Arabic and Malay. Yeah.
Oh, Arabic and Malay.
Yeah.
So they had classes there.
No, I
That was
did
in
I
your
did it
free
outside.
time.
Yeah, in my free time.
Oh, okay, okay.
Wait, no, I did Malay when I was in the national service, and Arabic was after I completed national service. Yeah. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the right order.
Yeah. And national service, you have to start when you're 18, or is there a time frame in Finland? It's like after you're 18, but you can postpone it until you're 27 or 8, I guess.
Okay. So in Singapore, you can't really postpone, but it's not like a hard rule that you have to start at 18 because it depends on which track in the education pathway that you chose.
Oh, okay.
Like for example, because for the I guess the one that ends the earliest is the one that you go to junior college. So that would be when you finish at the age of 18. So then after you finish your junior college, then you will go to national service. So it
Oh,
depends on when you finish your education, but definitely
oh, okay,
before going
okay.
to university.
Oh, now I remember the question I was thinking. How much of the education is mandatory? When can you stop school? In Finland, it used to be 9 years mandatory, but they like extended it, and now it's until you're 18 and you have completed like the high school or the third level when you're around 18, 19. Uh,
Ah,
so before it
okay.
was like after you were 15 and completed middle school, you could just go to work, but now you have to complete the vocational or high school level. And in Singapore, how many years is mandatory?
Okay, I think in Singapore it is I think mandatory. Uh I don't know about now, but back when I was still in school, I remember that it was only primary school was mandatory. So until age of 12 years old, everybody has to complete their
Yeah.
that final exam when you're 12 years old. Yeah.
So basically, you could, in theory, stop education after 12.
Yes.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
guess Singapore has one of the highest educational levels in the world.
Yeah, because I guess the idea here is that because Singapore is still largely most of the jobs are still largely qualification based. So unless you are able to find your calling on your own, I guess, like you start a business when you're, I don't know, when you're 13 or something,
Yeah,
or you work like, and I think there are some laws for employment as well, that you can only start at a certain age. So within after 12, if you don't do anything, then you're really not doing anything. So
yeah, yeah,
people just,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But secondary school, I guess most people would at least finish secondary school, which is up until the age of 16 or 17,
okay.
and then get their like complete the GCE, like the GCE exams, so that they would at least have one more like certificate with their
Yeah,
grades on it to apply to something else. Yeah.
yeah. But I guess it's quite rare to stop there
Yeah, I
because
would
you're
say
like
if
a service heavy
mm,
economy and
yeah.
probably don't have that much things for people who don't have a high education level.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess even if it's not say like a tertiary education kind of thing, at least complete vocational education and have a qualification in a like have a certificate to say that okay, you can be a hairdresser or you can be a technician or something like that, and you would be able to find a job like essentially. Mm.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, do you know anyone who has only studied until 16, 17?
Um yeah, so actually my sister stopped formal school, I guess, when she was 16 or 17, one of those ages.
Yeah,
Uh yeah, so because she said that she didn't want to continue studying, so she wanted to start working to see what it was like in the working world. So from then on, she actually went to work in Universal Studios, Singapore, I think as a customer service, as well as she also conducted some VIP tour guides along the way.
yeah,
So after that, when she realized, I mean, she gained experience over the years, and then after that, she went to upgrade herself to take some diploma courses in makeup, and then now she has also gotten her tour guide license. So she's now a licensed tour guide in Singapore.
yeah,
So I guess this is some of like the rare cases in Singapore, which fortunately I can share with you because my sister.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so I guess the whole idea, especially in recent years, Singapore has been trying to promote this idea of continued ed continued learning or continued education, lifelong learning essentially,
yeah,
so that at any point in time, in your educational journey, you know that you have multiple pathways, and even when you have a job already, you would be able to convert to a different field if you go for upgrading courses, I guess. Yeah.
yeah.
So it
Okay.
offers some flexibility lah in that sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Did you have any tutors during your school? like on any
Like to
level?
go for extra classes?
Yeah.
Yeah, so in I only went for these kinds of classes in primary school. Yeah, mostly because my English was terrible.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, but yeah, essentially I only went for these extra classes when I was in primary school.
Oh,
Mm.
okay. Because I saw on YouTube some documentary about Singapore, and they had some like super strict parents where
Yeah,
who put their 6, 7 year old children to like all the extra classes, so they had a really tight schedule from the morning until the
yeah.
evening. And for me it's like really crazy because I haven't heard about anyone except one family who has hired like extra tutors. Here is
Mm,
really relaxed, and it's really not that common. But my wife, who's
mm,
from Ukraine, she was actually the English tutor for this one family, their
uh,
child, and she also told it's pretty normal in Ukraine as well. And I didn't think about this before, but I've noticed since then that it's quite big in many countries, in
mm,
especially in Asia. I've seen like in Japan, South Korea, China, like
yeah.
so
In Asia, it's crazy.
that's why I wanted to know if in your case, and because my perception was that yeah, it's probably everyone has had some tutors. So
Yeah. I mean this tutoring idea is super huge in Asia. Like it is a profitable market on its own. Like
yeah,
which is why a lot of people they end up becoming tutors. They end up even if it's a side hustle, they could have their main jobs and then this is just a side hustle because it actually
yeah,
pays quite well. I would say it's not that it pays well, it's that people are willing to pay money for these kinds of
yeah,
things.
yeah,
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 so it ends up being I guess a common thing. I think it's just that I didn't go.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So for me, it seems like you had maybe a bit more relaxed childhood than some like extreme cases.
I would say because I would say of course my parents were still like still I wouldn't use the word worried about results. But like the expectations were still there, of course.
Yeah,
Just that because I was able to perform, and I think I was a better judgment of my results, in that sense. So actually, whenever I needed help, I would either look for my teachers or, I mean, the primary school one was actually initiated by me because I said that my English was terrible, and I think if I continue in this pace, I wouldn't be able to catch up for the final exams and do well enough to go to wherever I wanted to go. So I
yeah,
was the one who initiated it. But in general, I guess in Singapore, most of it would have been initiated by the parents
mm,
themselves to not only give their child I would even say it's give them an edge over the others, but sometimes it's really that they need extra help and the parents themselves might not be able to help them in a similar way.
yeah, yeah,
So they would rather pay for pay for someone or somewhere to help them.
yeah,
Of course,
yeah,
I do have other friends who are actually doing very well in school, but their parents still send them for to get tutors for them because they're like, okay, what if your grades drop? Yeah, so there's that fear.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, but I guess it's pretty natural in a small country with a like quite big
Mm,
population when compared to your size. When
mm,
everyone's so highly educated, so I understand it. Like people want
yeah.
the best for their kids.
Mhm.
And how much homework did you have in school? Because when I've read something like the amount of homework in different countries, I'm always like shocked. I'm like, oh my God, that's so much. Because here, of
Okay.
course, you get more and more when you're older, but maybe some approximates in different
I think
levels.
I think generally there was a good enough amount of homework. But because I generally did them all when I was in school, so I didn't have any homework. So I
Oh,
finished them
okay.
before going home.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I guess you could say when people are playing like football or something, because I generally don't really like to do sports.
Yeah.
I prefer to like read. Like studying is actually okay, I wouldn't really call it a hobby, but I enjoy studying. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
in that sense, during those break times, I would use the break time to do my homework so that I wouldn't have any homework when I went home.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, so that would have been that was me. That's why I didn't have
yeah.
homework. Yeah, but I would say there is a good enough amount of homework for people to bring back to do. And I think the issue also is that for people with like this kind of extra classes, they end up having even more things to do because their tutors would give them homework as well. So not only do they have the
Yeah.
homework from school,
Okay.
but they have homework from these
Yeah.
extra classes. So
Oh
it
my
just
God.
compounds, you know.
Yeah. 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 That sounds a lot. Um,
Mm,
yeah. I was yeah I've asked a lot about the education more than usually because I've heard so much about the education in Singapore and
mm,
also in Asia. So it's always interesting to hear about the education systems
mm.
in different countries, and also when you see all the memes about like Indian or Asian, like East or Southern Eastern, Southeast Asian like
Southeast Asian.
parents,
Yeah.
like I don't know if you know the Asian American person who's an astronaut, doctor,
Oh,
and
yeah, yeah, the doctor, and then yeah, yeah, I've
like
seen that before. Yeah.
I don't know. Did you see the like someone? I think there was a chain of comments, and someone was like, and still his parents are disappointed with him or something like that. It's like,
Yeah, yeah, I've seen that before. Like, I would confirm this stereotype is true.
yeah, yeah,
In Asian societies, I would say that this stereotype is generally true. Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, it's up to whoever is up to it. But I think I guess what you say is right because there are so many of us. Actually, I think the competition in places like China and India would be, or in South Korea would be way more than us because
hmm,
they also they have a significantly larger amount of people, like especially in
yeah,
China, I think they have like 2 billion people or something like that.
yeah.
And I think now with I think I recently read an article online that said that, oh, even like some of those people who graduate from a university and they go for like even higher education, they are still unable to
Oh
find a
yeah,
job.
yeah, yeah. I
There are
read the
just
same.
so
Yeah,
many of these people.
yeah. I also saw some YouTube, some small documentaries about this issue, how
Mm,
they all have like masters and still they can't get any other job than like
yeah.
some pretty basic entry level things.
Mm. Guess it's like qualification inflation. Because if everybody has a master's, it's
Yeah,
like, oh, then what is different about you?
yeah, 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 exactly. Is there a like a phenomenon in Singapore that the good, like the best students get mocked by like the ones who are not that good because like they are so good? Because here in Finland it's really common that like the students who are not that good or like they try to make it lame and like
Ah,
nerdy being good, and I got that a bit as well because I was always like the best or top three in my class or school, but I yeah. So does that phenomenon exist in Singapore?
I guess definitely this phenomenon exists. I mean, whenever there are bullies, they will always exist. So what
Yeah,
bullies can find anything to bully you about,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So like I guess I think I faced a similar thing where people were like saying, oh, okay, I don't have a life and stuff like that. But actually, it was quite hilarious because I didn't have any homework. I finished it in school, right? So essentially I actually had more free time than everyone else.
yeah,
So I was like, no, I do have a life. Like outside of school, I'm not doing homework. I'm not going
yeah.
for extra classes. And then they're like, okay.
Okay, but
So I generally had a comeback for it, but it does
yeah,
exist lah. It does exist. I guess it works both ways. Like people, I guess there are bullies who like make fun of people who don't really do well in their studies, and then there are also those who are like, okay, yeah, this person is always doing well. He must be a nerd, he must not have a life. Like the only thing he does is probably just study.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was wondering because I was thinking if it's like if the mentality is different, that if there is much less of this than here, because here it's not only the bullies, it's sometimes like the people in the middle, and maybe like they're like, yeah, it's total, yeah, it's lame. Or I can remember many times when people brag how bad grades they had, and I was like, I was just quiet, and I was like, why are these people bragging how stupid they are? I was like, what?
I think it's more like those people who generally do well, they tend to be overly modest. So it ends up being, I think then it perpetuates this situation where people are like, okay, yeah, it's this nerd again who always says he can't do well, but at the end of the day he becomes the top of the class. And so,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so I think the shift is more of because the people who generally do well, they end up passing comments like this. I guess the issue is that they are trying to be modest because they don't want to like, maybe they don't want to make other people feel bad about their results. But when someone is being like overly modest, it ends up being, I guess some people see it as sarcastic.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we can continue because we have spoken so much about education. So let's get back to languages. So after completing your army, um, so I guess that was like just a few years ago, 3 years ago, because you're 25 now, or like later this year.
I'm 25 in October. Yeah.
Oh, October. Me too.
Yeah.
October 16th. October Club.
Yes.
Which day is your birthday?
28th.
28th. Okay. Okay. So you completed your military
When I
around like
was
3 years
20
ago.
years old. About 5 years ago.
5 years. Okay. From
I
18
think
to
4 years
20.
ago. 4 years ago. Yeah,
Four
4 years ago.
years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then where did you go?
After that, I went to the university to
Yeah.
do. I did chemistry in university.
Yeah. So you got
Mm.
your degree already.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bachelor's in.
Yeah. Bachelor's. Yeah.
Yeah. And during your chemistry studies, did you start new languages, or did you improve the previous ones?
So when I was in university, the ironic part was I never took any classes. I never took any language classes with the university. Not that they were bad, it's just
Yeah,
that I was already taking classes outside. So I was like, I'll just continue outside.
yeah.
So I didn't learn new languages, but I was actively trying to maintain my French proficiency. And then I also picked up, I was in the midst of learning Malay and Arabic at the same time. So those were the three things I think I focused uh most on. And then later on I picked up, no, I didn't pick that up when I was in university, did I? Oh yeah, towards the end of my university I picked up Dutch and Tamil. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I didn't take any classes with the university. I took them all on italki or there are some like language centers in Singapore, private language centers in Singapore that offer classes. So that's where I took my classes
Are
to
they
to
expensive
study.
there, and like the private
Um,
institutions?
I would say that they are pretty affordable in Singapore. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, I've had also from the we have these what would we call adult education centers.
Ah.
So
Mm.
everyone can freely pick any courses about like languages, and they have all sorts of courses, and they are actually
Mm.
really cheap. I think they are usually the cheapest ones are I think I had Northern Sami course. It was only, was it 40, 50 euros, or what was it? Now I saw there was one
Ah,
Karelian class that I wanted to participate in. It was, I think, 35 euros, and maybe, was it 16 hours or how many? But anyways, they are
oh,
usually around 30, 50 euros, but some can be even like 100,
is
but
thirty
not
euros
much
per class or for the whole thing?
for the whole thing.
Oh, for
So
the whole thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh,
it's
that is really cheap. Yeah.
yeah. I had Turkish the whole year. I paid for the whole year. I ended up just studying half of the year because I went to like traveling.
Hmm.
Uh, and I think it was less than 100. I think it was like, was it
Ah, okay.
60,
Now, yeah,
70?
that's really cheap. Yeah,
Yeah,
ours is about 30 per lesson. Yeah,
oh, okay. Yeah,
yeah,
that's much more expensive
yeah.
because
It's
here,
much more expensive, but
yeah,
it's still considered affordable in Singapore. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I guess Singapore is also in the top five like most expensive places
yeah, yeah, yeah.
in the world.
We've been fighting for the top for the past few years.
Was it with Norway, or what? Can you remember any of the? I can remember that at least Singapore is there with maybe Switzerland, Norway.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I think we are always like one of the top three. We're always somewhere there. I think
Yeah,
like last year or something we were the top. I don't know about this year, but last year we were the top.
yeah. It's always like the GDP and also the like
Hmm.
GDP per capita, and also the living expense
Hmm.
statistics, where I see Singapore in the top.
Hmm.
Like Finland is pretty expensive as well. It's I think in the top 20 at least,
Hmm.
but some things are cheap here. Like these language courses can be really cheap.
Yeah.
So you started simultaneously Malay and Arabic.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you pick those two languages?
Okay, so uh Malay was something that I wasn't interested in when I was in secondary school. So actually my secondary school offered conversational Malay classes for 1 year. We all had to take it essentially. It was not examinable, but we all had to take it. And I think I didn't really pick up any interest at that point in time. So I don't retain any like
Yeah.
knowledge from that 1 year. And then after that, because I was like, oh, okay, so I think I started to speak to more I started to have a bit more Malay friends, and then I started to speak more with Malay people. And then I think when we went to, I think going to like Malaysia and stuff like that, it's not that they don't speak English, but I guess, you know, when you go to a different country, even if they can speak English, it's always a bit more uh, nicer if you speak in their
Yeah,
language.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, maybe I should start learning Malay, right? So that's when I started picking up Malay. That was the main reason. And then for Arabic, actually it's quite funny why I picked up Arabic. Because after I finished national service, it was the starting period of COVID. And
Yeah.
then less everywhere was like shut down. And then we were all under a lockdown. And then I was like, I have nothing to do now.
Yeah.
So I was like, why not I start learning a new language, right? I think that's what all language learners do. That I have nothing to do. Even if we have something to do, we're like, let's just
Yeah.
learn a new language. And then at that point in time, I didn't because I've always been going for language classes. So at that point, I was like, okay, I think I need to find a language class to pick up a new language. But there was no available online language class at that point, and I didn't know about italki. So I was frantically searching for an online class option in Singapore, and Arabic was the only one.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is a sign.
So whatever it would have been, you would have taken it as a sign, like, oh, okay,
Exactly.
I have to. Yeah.
Exactly. And actually, I guess I wouldn't say that Arabic ranked high on the list of interested languages, but
Yeah.
because at the point I was like, okay, actually I do enjoy learning different scripts. Whether or not I can understand them is another issue. But actually, as of now, I can understand the Japanese script and the Hindi script, but I don't understand what's going on. I can
Yeah.
write them and read them perfectly, but don't ask me what they mean. So for Arabic, that was also, I was like, okay, yeah, actually the script is kind of interesting. So I'm not going to go down the same path as Japanese and Hindi. The reason why I have
Yeah.
not pursued learning them is because my proficiency for those languages is that it is sufficient enough for me to watch Bollywood and anime,
Yeah.
sometimes without the subtitles. So
Mhm.
I was like, okay, I'm happy enough with that. So I never pursued
Yeah.
it. And then I was like, okay, for Arabic, let me not go down that path. I was like, I will pursue it. And
Yeah.
then slowly, I started to gain a bit more interest in it as I went for classes. And I think the online classes were quite conducive and everybody was very happy. So I just continued learning Arabic from then on. Yeah, so that was the reason I chose. It's completely random. And as
Yeah.
you said, I would have taken any language if it was available.
Did you continue after
Yeah,
finishing the
I'm
course?
still learning Arabic until now.
Yeah. What do you think what's your level currently?
I think it's intermediate. I would say like maybe B1, 2 around there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
And about the scripts, well, before talking about the scripts, was it modern standard Arabic or a
Yeah,
certain
yeah,
dialect? Okay, yeah,
understand it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I also had here the adult education center. It was like a make it was modern standard Arabic, but it was a bit of a mix with the colloquial Levantine
Mm.
Arabic of Syria because our teacher was from Syria.
Uh,
So
yeah. I think it's the same here because I guess depending on where your teacher is from, they would definitely like put some of their own words inside. Yeah.
yeah. And what do you think? What has been the most difficult thing in Arabic?
The most difficult thing about Arabic for me would be I think the issue is that because for a huge proportion of me learning Arabic, one, not only do I have nobody to practice it with,
Yeah.
other than my classmates, the other one was that actually in the first 1 to 2 years that I learned Arabic, I think there was not a lot of focus on grammar. So uh I guess we only learned like the present tense and the past tense, and that's it. And then what the way we constructed sentences was just okay, yeah. I don't know. I just generally, based on my recollection, was just stringing words together and hoping it was right. So I had no notion of grammar in my head. And
Yeah.
then later on when I went for so the context here is that because they need a certain number of people to be able to form a class. But as I entered higher levels, the number of people in the class started to drop. So towards the end, I
Mm.
think in 2022, um, after 2 years of learning Arabic, I stopped because they had no more classes and they couldn't form a class. So I actually stopped Arabic for about half a year.
Yeah.
And then I managed to find another class. And then I found out about italki, so I started italki.
Yeah.
And then that's when I realized that I had no notion of grammar at all. And then, but then my tutor was like, "Wait, your Arabic, your knowledge of the of words is there. That an intermediate learner would have, but." Because the grammar is just not there. Whenever I read passages, I could just pick out words and like, okay, this is what this means, I think. But I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I don't know how they formed any of this. Yeah, so my tutor was like, okay, I think we have to relearn grammar.
Is it mainly with the verbs how to form all the different tenses?
Yeah, and I think they have like different because they use a root word system. So it's like the three root letters, and you can put them into I think like 12 different forms, and they will be able each form would serve a different like case, whether it's like the nominative case or whatever, one of those things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did not know that.
Yeah. And at the beginning, how long did it take to learn to read?
Oh, the new script, I guess. So the center that I went to, that offered the class, they had this intensive like course on how to read and write the Arabic script. So I was very grateful for that because I was basically reading and writing for a good 10 weeks. Okay, yeah, the class is once a week, so it's over 10 weeks, so 10 lessons. I was doing it intensively over 2 hours for 10 lessons.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that was how I managed to pick it up after that. And then I managed to read and write pretty well after that.
Yeah. You're probably much higher level in Arabic than me. So how is it currently to read without these? I don't remember Dammathat or so, these that
Ah,
note the vowels, because for me it's because I haven't had that much time lately, the last few years, because I was practicing with a Syrian guy who
mm,
found me on tandem.com, but
mm,
he became too busy after his wife and child arrived to Germany where he was
mm,
living. So we didn't have any time after that. So I haven't done much in Arabic since then. But when I read something and I don't have the um,
vowels.
vowels there, it's a bit difficult. But in Persian, I can without those. But I've had much more, of course, practice with my language buddy. So how is it
Mm.
now for you?
I think I've gotten a bit better at guessing
Yeah,
what the correct vowels are. Because actually the vowels follow the same system as the 12 cases. Yeah. So I guess you will be able to guess the vowels based on the context of the sentence. But generally, if I already knew the word before, it would be easier for me to guess. Yeah.
yeah,
So I'm still at a stage whereby, of course, in class when I have to read a passage, I just guess my way through the whole thing and hope I'm right. But
yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I mean, I guess it's with more exposure and reading that you get a bit more used to figuring out when which vowel goes where.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing I was especially thinking was when you reach higher levels and you learn more vocabulary, how often has it occurred that there are words that you write the same way without the vowels? How often has that happened? Uh,
Oh, I guess in general, because when I write my notes, I don't
yeah,
put the vowels.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that forces me to remember how to read it.
Yeah, but if it's a word that's written exactly the same way, but
Mm.
pronounced, the vowels are different, how often that has that happened ever, or is that
Oh,
rare? Rare?
uh, yeah, so generally when I read the passage, I guess the thing, and then I would say I'm probably like 50% right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So based on the context,
Yeah, yeah,
probably
yeah, yeah.
no,
So
it's this and not
I
that.
still get it wrong. I still do get it wrong, but hopefully I'm getting better at it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you said you can read also Japanese and Hindi, like
Yeah.
Devanagari, or from Tamil,
Yeah.
the Tamil script, which Indian language?
So I can read Devanagari, and now because I'm learning Tamil, so I can also read that as well.
Oh, both. Okay.
Mm.
Um, I started over learning the Devanagari maybe 3 times before I learned them, because I had a hiatus, and then maybe after a year I started all over again, and still, I mean, I can read Devanagari, but sometimes there are these combinations.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm like, and now I haven't also practiced that often with my
Mm.
language buddy, because usually I have like some slides where I have some sentences. I try to read them, and he
Mm.
corrects me. But now I don't have that much exposure. And even when we practiced, there were some rare combinations. Can you read everything, or do you also have problem sometimes with the
I
combination?
would say I haven't read any recently, at least not in the past 1 to 2 years, because I think the funny part is that whenever I type, like when I want to chat with my Hindi speaking friends or Tamil speaking friends, we actually just use like Latin like
Yeah,
English
okay,
letters
yeah,
to write it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
slowly I was like, okay, then slowly I just didn't read it anymore. So
Okay.
I don't really know. I guess if I were to read it again now, I would be facing more difficulties than you. But I think basic, not the combination. I think the basic ones, I would be able to read.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Mm.
The basic ones are easy, but in words, when you read everything, then it
Yeah,
becomes
yeah,
a
yeah.
bit tricky. And I, for
Definitely.
example, always mix g and dia because there is only one
Ah.
difference. There's one line
Mm.
that's missing from up
Mm.
somewhere, and yeah. And so Japanese, do you know hiragana, katakana, and how many kanjis do you think you know?
I can read all the hiragana and katakana. For kanji, I don't know because uh, I have learned some kanji before. I don't remember how many, but I guess like because the kanji characters are similar to Chinese
Yeah.
characters, so generally, if I have to read uh like a Japanese instructions or something, uh I will be able to understand it just based by guessing from the
The
Chinese word
meaning,
itself.
yeah, the meaning.
Yeah.
So,
But
so
whether or not I can read it correctly is another thing.
yeah, so is it that when you read some Japanese texts, when there's kanji, you might not know the word how it's pronounced in Japanese, but you know the meaning because of like Mandarin,
Yeah, yeah.
and you
So
feel
I don't know whether you've seen this meme before about Chinese speakers who learn Japanese, but like I think it's exactly the same for me. When we come across these kanji, we just read it in Chinese and then we just move on.
yeah, yeah. Then after that, some hiragana, katakana. Then
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
If we
Okay.
know the word in kanji, yes, we read it in kanji. But if we don't, we just read it in Chinese and move on.
I haven't seen that meme actually.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what. Yeah, there's a meme online. I found it so relatable. But yeah, that's how I do it. If I don't know how to read it in kanji, I just read it in Chinese and move on.
Yeah. I I spoke with a Japanese. I think it was here in Finland, who's probably living here. Uh, Anyways, it was with some Japanese. I can remember a quick conversation that we were speaking about the script, and I can remember him or her telling that in their school time they had to like practice even summertime, like writing the kanjis all the time. How was it in your childhood, like with Mandarin and
Okay.
learning
So
the characters?
I think this is like a childhood exercise for all of Chinese people where
Yeah,
we basically have this we have this exercise book like the ones with the boxes. Let me see whether I have one here. So basically, we have one with the boxes. So something like this,
yeah.
with box. Okay, okay, it's a bit too bright, but I guess you can tell, right?
I
With the
can.
box,
Yeah, yeah.
and then so we would just keep writing inside this book, like all of the words that we learn. We just keep writing on and
Yeah,
on and on
yeah,
again. That would be homework essentially
yeah.
for Chinese class. And I think a funny anecdote is that this is not mine, but not a personal anecdote, but from my friend. Uh Essentially, when he got tired of doing this, he just passed it to his Malay or Indian friends to do it for him.
Yeah.
Because he was like, it's just copying the word. I think you can do it.
Yeah.
And then like his friends were like, this looks fun. To us, we're like, no, this is not fun. We just do it all the time because we have to. But I guess if you're not a Chinese, then it's just like drawing pictures. So
Yeah.
I guess they were very happy to do it for him. So
Over. Okay.
yeah, so that's how he managed to finish his homework. But yeah, that's a I think it's common for all of us who have to learn the characters that we just keep writing over and over again.
Yeah. Even in summers. In your case, how was it?
In our case, Yeah, we have holiday homework. So yes, we also write it.
Holiday homework. Oh my God, that sounds terrible. By the way,
Well,
how long vacations do you have?
so for us, we have a 1 week holiday in March, and then a one month holiday in June, and then a 1 week holiday in September, and then school generally stops by the second or third week of November. I don't remember.
Yeah.
And then from then on, it would be holidays until January the next year.
Okay, so twice a year, 1 month, and then scatter around the year like 1 week a few times.
Yeah, so March and September 1 week each, and then June and December 1 month each.
Okay, so that's like 2.5 months in total.
Yeah, because Singapore we don't have seasons. It's summer all year long.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
we don't have summer or winter holiday.
Yeah, yeah. Here it's some vacation from June to mid-August, so 2.5 months in a row. But
Hmm.
that's actually shorter than in ex-Soviet countries, Russia, Ukraine, Baltic countries. There they have like 3 months, January, June, July, August, because they all
Ah.
start school September 1st. Like September 1st
Mm.
is a thing there. Like
Oh.
everyone knows all the schools start September 1st.
Ah, okay.
And in Finland, then we have one week in October, the autumn vacation, and Christmas vacation December 20th until December 10th. Well, 2, 3 weeks, and then winter vacation in February 1 week. So
Ah,
that's,
okay.
I guess, in total around 4 months, 3.5, 4 months
Mm.
per year. And with higher education, for example, universities or no, so it depends. It depends. But in my school, I mean the semesters are surprisingly short. My
Oh.
sc I'm currently studying my third degree, a bachelor's in computer science, and my
Mm.
school starts now September 2nd or 3rd,
Mm.
and basically I don't have much lectures after the end of November. I have something in the beginning of December, like on 2 days, but basically you could start vacation in the end of November, and then it continues January 10th or January
Ah.
between 10th and 20th. And summer vacation starts. It started this year for me in the end of April. Uh,
Mm.
and my wife was like, "What? It's so the semesters are quite short." But it's not. It varies a bit. If you
Mm.
study law or medicine or something like that, it could be
Ah, yeah.
much longer. Yeah,
Yeah, similar for us, I guess. I think for us, I think we have the summer and winter holiday thing. Uh, I guess to follow other universities around the world.
yeah,
But generally ours is, I think, about 3 months for a semester. So the semester one starts in August, the first week of August, and it ends, um, the teaching time officially it ends in 15 weeks, 12 or 13 weeks, something like that.
yeah,
And then after that, it would be like a month of I think 2 weeks or maybe a month of examination. So if you don't have examinations, you could technically just end in whatever that month is. I think November or something like that.
yeah,
Uh, and then the second semester starts in January and it ends in April. If you don't have exams, it ends in April.
yeah.
Yeah, if you do, then it ends in May.
Okay, yeah, that's quite short as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Have you ever traveled in France and used your French in a French speaking environment?
Yeah. So I think French keeps coming back to me in my life, which is not a bad
Okay.
thing. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
good thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I was in secondary school, because I took French in school, I had the opportunity to go to I had the opportunity to go to France twice with the school. The first time was in my third year of learning French. I went to Brest, um, which is in the northern part of France. Uh, yeah, and that was pretty fun because first it was my first time there, first time in France, and the idea also was that it really it really made me think that, oh, okay, if you want to really learn a if you really want to learn a language well, I guess you have to be a bit shameless. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so because we all lived in what's that term? Host families, right? So we all had a host family. And basically when I was in the whole family, I was so afraid to say things because I was scared I would say something wrong. But
Yeah.
then my host mom was like, if you don't say anything to me, what are you here for? And then, yeah,
Yeah.
my host mom was so direct with me. I was like, okay, this woman is going to like beat me or something if I don't say anything.
Yeah.
So that's when I was like, okay, I'm just gonna start speaking. And actually she was really nice because whenever I said something and then she doesn't correct me all the time. I guess if she knows what I'm talking about, she would just move on with it. But if it's like a very, very important error, she would just point it out. So it kind of helped me build my confidence in that sense. And I actually want to thank her because she was so direct on the first day when I was
Yeah.
there that I was like, okay, day one on, I'm gonna start speaking.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, as
How
opposed to
old
like
were you then?
for 2 weeks. Yeah.
How old? Your age
Oh,
at
how
that time?
old? I was 15.
15. Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, and it was really hilarious because I think all of us had the same mindset. Like we were all so afraid to make mistakes. And we are so afraid to say like stupid
Yeah.
things.
Yeah,
That
yeah, yeah, yeah.
basically after day one, because I was like the person who was so shameless, that from that day onwards, whenever we were
Yeah.
out on the streets on our own, my friends were like, Ryan, can you ask for this? Can you ask for that? And then I remember this time
Yeah.
when it was so hilarious because I didn't know what the term for spoon was. And then we were at a place to eat, and I think because generally they only give I think I don't know if it's a Western thing, but they only give like a fork and a knife, and they don't give a
Yeah.
spoon. So we were all
Yeah.
like, "Where's the spoon?" And then Ryan, can you ask for a spoon? And then I just I was like, I have no idea what a spoon is. So
Yeah.
I just went to the counter and I told the person whether I could I said it in French of course, but I was like, so can I have the thing that usually comes with a fork and it's round?
Yeah.
And then the person looked at me first like, what? And then I was like, you know, the round.
Yeah.
And the person gave me a bowl, and I was like, no, no, not the bowl, the thing that comes with the fork.
Yeah.
Yeah, then in the end we finally got the spoon. I was like, okay, just so I don't make this mistake again, can you tell me what this is in French? And then that's when the person told me. I guess the person was really nice about it. Um,
Yeah.
and I think another thing was that I think there's always this stereotype at that point in time that people in France like treat people who speak English very terribly.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. And
I I think
yes.
I think I learned a bit more when I was in France because I was in Paris, right? I was in yeah. So in year three, I went in the third year, I went to Brest, and then in my fifth year, I went to Toulouse. So both times, the people told me the same thing that actually the reason why they like it's not that they are hostile to English speakers. It's just that in school, they just didn't learn English. They just learned something else. So it's not that they don't want to speak to you. They just don't know what you're saying because they
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
learned. So they told me that the perception comes a bit more from people in Paris because maybe I mean they said nobody in France likes people in Paris. Uh
Yeah. Yeah.
it was quite funny. So I was like, okay, yeah. So maybe the stereotype does stem from Paris alone because that's where most tourists go. And yeah, but I guess everywhere else it's kind of like they don't really learn English. They learn a different European language. So if you do speak to them in English, they don't know what you're saying anyway, which is why they can't really respond to you. So that was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's where the stereotype comes from, right?
Well, I had one interesting experience in Guadeloupe. You know, the Caribbean island in
Mm.
yeah, in the Caribbean. So I was there with my ex-girlfriend. Um, and she had made an Airbnb reservation, and she was like talking with her. And at that time, I think Airbnb didn't have the automatic translations
Ah,
there.
okay.
So she was my ex was always messaging in English, but she was just answering in French, and then I told what to write there. And when we got to the place, she spoke perfect English, and we were like, "Why couldn't she write
Just
English to
respond,
my
right?
ex?" Yes, why? I mean, yeah, but maybe it's not
Yeah.
all the French and all the French people I've met during my travels. The young people can speak, young or old. They usually have
Mm.
spoken quite well English, at least on my travels. But yeah, I've heard also from other people when they have traveled in France and spoken English that they have had some interesting experiences. A bit like mine, that in some cases, yeah, they actually could speak English, but for some reason they didn't want to.
Yeah. I think maybe it's more, I think it's more, I think it's less common in maybe like the north. Like I think maybe in Brest, they maybe they don't really learn English because I think they are quite close to like Belgium or something. So maybe I don't know, maybe the people there prefer to like learn Dutch or something. I don't know, because the people in Brest told me that they don't actually learn English, which
Okay.
I don't know how true that is. Maybe it's just the people that I spoke to.
Or
Or maybe they
maybe,
just never picked up English from their classes, which is why,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But I think isn't Brest quite long from the Belgian border? Isn't it like in the more
Yeah, I
maybe
mean, yeah, it's
west
this way.
coast?
Yeah,
So
I guess,
I
but
think Brittany, the
yeah,
province.
it's in
Brit
Brittany, yeah. Yeah, but they told me they learn a different European language.
yeah,
So
yeah,
they don't learn English. They're
yeah,
like, why learn English when I can learn another European language?
yeah, yeah.
So I was like,
Hey,
okay, fair enough.
yeah. One question: what were you eating in the restaurant? I forgot. What were you eating?
What about, oh,
Because I was wondering why did you need the fork, spoon?
I don't remember what we were eating, but I think it had some, I think maybe it was cassoulet.
What kind of food is that? I don't remember.
Also cassoulet is like a stew with I think duck and a lot of beans inside. Uh yeah, I think we because in our mind we are like, oh, it's a stew. So we were like, maybe we should, because in like Asian dishes, when we have a stew, we would drink all of the sauce and stuff up. Or take the sauce and put it on our rice or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's when we wanted to have a spoon, but they only gave us a fork and a knife. So we were like, how are we gonna drink this thing?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, it's if it's a soup, then we definitely have a spoon. But yeah, if it's a stew, then I guess it's
Yeah.
yeah, maybe not.
Yeah,
And
it's more of like
also,
it's also like a thick consistency. So I would also, so I can see why they don't give a spoon. It's just for us, we're like, yeah, I think we should get a spoon.
yeah, but I also saw in Asia. I've been actually just twice in Asia, in China and in Sri Lanka. And in Sri Lanka, for example, I saw that they have even spoons when you eat like rice or something.
Yeah,
But here,
we eat rice with a spoon. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I think
Yeah.
yeah, that's it's easier. But somehow we just mainly use forks.
Yeah.
I don't like for knives. So usually
Mm.
I use I only have a fork and I cut my meat even with the fork.
Ah.
Sometimes if it's too thick the meat, then I will have a knife. But usually
Mm.
I just use a fork. I'm a fork person.
Okay. Yeah,
But
for us, we use a chopstick for everything.
yeah,
Chopsticks can do everything. We even eat rice with a chopstick. Yeah, I guess, yeah, with a chopstick I can eat almost everything other than drink soup. Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. When well, I was in Chengdu three months in
Mm.
2017, so I
Ah.
also used the chopsticks then. But yeah, it's definitely not natural for me
Mm.
if you don't use that often. But
Yeah,
here,
yeah, I can
here
understand.
Chinese and other Asian food is really popular, and maybe in some Chinese places, I actually sometimes use chopsticks.
Mm.
So your French is quite good, and you have had a lot of like contact with French speakers. What about other languages? How much have you used them in real life, like maybe outside of Singapore and while traveling?
Outside of Singapore, I would say when I go to Malaysia, I can speak in Malay with them quite well. Um, my I think that's the extent of my usage outside of Singapore.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to use any of my languages outside of Singapore actually. Uh, I guess maybe Tamil a bit in Malaysia as well because yeah, in Malaysia as well because they also have Tamil speakers there.
Yeah.
But mostly I would use Malay and Tamil in Singapore with my friends. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
And
the language that I have the most usage is still French. Yeah.
yeah. Do you
Mm.
use French as well in Singapore?
Um, yeah, so actually the interesting part was when I was in why I said that French keeps coming back to me is that in university, I actually so one of my chemistry lecturers is French.
Yeah.
And then I worked with her on educational research, and then throughout the whole period of time, we were just speaking in French. But of
Yeah.
course, when we wrote the stuff like the results and all that, we wrote in English. But yeah, for our discussions, we always did it in French, even when we were talking about like science stuff, because I did science.
Well,
She was
yeah.
a chemistry lecturer. So we were all speaking all of that in French. And then for my final year research project, I actually worked on uh so I used nanoparticles and then I put them inside cells. Essentially that's the summary.
Yeah.
And inside the research group, there was also a French person who did mainly like simulations and data analysis using computer simulations, yeah, computer models,
Yeah.
essentially. So I I spoke to him in French and we basically did our discussions about using Python, doing simulations all in French, and
Yeah.
it was me at that point trying to figure out all of these technical
Yeah.
terms on the spot. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think it was a great learning opportunity actually, to use it in I would say in a working context. Yeah,
Yeah.
as opposed to like in travel and stuff like because I guess there are a few domains that you can use the language in travel, personal, and also in work. So I think for French, I have managed to cover all three of them.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Uh,
then after that, I'm still volunteering at the language center where I did French at. So I hold weekly French discussions with the advanced students. Yeah.
yeah. So you always pick a topic, or is it just spontaneous conversations?
At the start, I picked the topic and then because at the time I think ChatGPT was a bit more like wild. Everybody was using it, so I was thinking of how to use AI for language teaching, and then
Hmm.
I was like, okay, so since they were advanced students, which corresponds to when I was in like the 5th and 6th year when I was learning French at the same center. So I was like, okay, I would generate like responses and like I think I generated a full essay based on a particular discussion topic. And I told the students, okay, a starting point for our discussion would be you read those two essays generated by ChatGPT. You can either pick up the points from them and
Hmm.
elaborate on them on your own, or you can also criticize the essay. And then I think that was a good starting point because they told me that when they started learning French at a higher level, they didn't really know how to structure their thoughts in French. So the
Yeah.
essay was a good starting point, even though it was generated by ChatGPT. There were some errors inside, but we know AI models are learning.
Hmm.
And yeah, so they appreciated that, and slowly they figure out how to criticize an essay lah, and create their own um arguments based on it, which was great. I think it was a good starting point.
Yeah.
So moving on, then they were a bit more spontaneous in terms of the discussion. Yeah, at the start it was all like, should I say this? How do I say that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So
Mm.
you volunteer once a week now.
Yeah. Because I also need to fit the schedule and mine. So I do it on Saturday nights. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Are you currently studying or working?
I'm working. Yeah, I'm a science teacher.
Yeah. So you teach chemistry or what?
I teach general science and chemistry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Uh, and in your free time, I guess you focus then mainly on languages.
Yeah, correct. In my free time, I'm either learning languages or I'm helping people, like these people I'm like when I'm volunteering at the center. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it mainly Singaporeans who come to the language center, and also your students are all of them from Singapore?
Yeah, because it's the language center that is set up for the secondary school students. So they are all like 17, 18-year-olds. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Singaporean students. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And about language learning more, have you used any language uh, services that you have paid for?
That
Like
I've
you mentioned italki.
Mm,
Are
yeah.
there any other ones? And italki, for which languages have you used italki?
So I use italki for all of the languages I'm currently learning. So it's Arabic, Tamil, Vietnamese, and Malay as well as Dutch. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have lessons every week?
Yeah, I have lessons every week. So it's 5 lessons every week. Yeah.
So how much is that? How much does it cost? Because it's usually 10 to 20 euros per month, per hour.
Yeah.
So
So I would say because my Malay is a bit better. So I take lessons like on and off. I mainly focus on the four of them. So I would say I spend about 150. Okay, my system is in USD, so it's 150 USD a month. Yeah.
yeah. Okay,
Mm.
that's not that bad then.
I think
Well,
it's about
yeah,
40 USD a week. Yeah,
yeah,
so it's about 150 around there.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's not bad for 1 week if you have 5 languages.
Yeah.
That's
Generally it's four. I do the Malay one like maybe like once a month.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What else? Which materials have you used? Like you can mention if there are more that you have paid for, and also some of the free ones that you have liked.
Okay, so before I started learning Vietnamese on italki, I tried to learn it myself because I was thinking I keep going for classes. Maybe it's time to try learning it on my own. Uh it failed because I'm such a busy person that I end up not allocating time to learn it on my own. Which is
Yeah,
why I still go back to having lessons. Uh
yeah.
yeah, but before that, I actually tried to learn Vietnamese on my own for about 1 to 2 months. I go to this website that is called, I think it's called SVFF. But basically, I really love that website a lot. I think the resources are really, really wonderful. It's just that because of my busy schedule, I lack the discipline to do it on my own. Um,
Yeah,
but they have wonderful resources. So I paid for the full package. Okay, so I forgot how much it was. I think it was like 300 USD, but it's a
yeah.
lifetime access to all of the resources on there. Um, and they offer both dialects, northern and southern Vietnamese
Mm.
dialect, which is wonderful.
Oh,
They have video resources from I think from A0 all the way to C1, C2 based on whatever they define it to be as,
what was
which
the
is
name? I will write it here.
SVFF.
SVFF. Okay.
Yeah, let me see if okay, I can send you the website in the chat.
Yeah,
Uh yeah, okay, it's this one.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's the SVFF. And then that's the one I use for Vietnamese. It's wonderful. Um for Arabic, I think I really think Arabic is a bit hard to find because generally people do it in their particular dialect. It's
Yeah.
hard to find modern standard, but I managed to find this one which is called Arabic Blooms. Okay, I don't know what the website is, but it's called Arabic Blooms. I'll just type the name here.
Yeah.
Arabic Blooms. So the good thing about this, or the reason how I came across Arabic Blooms is that they have this YouTube series where they basically went through a story every week. Or maybe it's not every week, but they had a series lah, basically. So each video would be a story and they would explain the meaning of the story and the important vocabulary, as well as any relevant grammar topics that came with it.
Yeah.
So that was great because it is free. Like the videos on YouTube are free. But I think I paid to I paid for something. I forgot what it was, but they have like this portal where you can do the exercises or download something. I forgot what it was, but that's what I did last time. I think I only paid it for because I think it was a monthly thing. So
Yeah.
because I realized with my schedule, I really couldn't keep up with doing it monthly. So I stopped paying for it. And then I defaulted back to the videos that were already there instead of using the resources because I was like, okay, if I am gonna watch it, I just watch the videos and figure it out on my own. But
Yeah.
it's still a good resource either way.
I think, I have it here now. I think I've seen some of their videos as well.
Mm,
I like their videos as well. Really good.
yeah. So generally just these two
Yeah.
things that I have paid for. Oh,
Okay.
for Dutch, I have used this thing for a period of time. Let me see what it's called. Think it's called, I think it's learndutch.org. Yeah, I think it's this one. Yeah, okay, let me send it. Okay, learndutch.org. So I also paid uh for the full package. And I did learn Dutch on my own for a good period of time, for 3 months.
Yeah.
And it was quite good because I was at the period of time it was during my university holiday, and I was okay. I'm free now. I will do this for 3 months. And it was really good because they not only have the videos, but they also have, so they have a video series where they teach it based on like the A1 kind of standard. And then
Mhm.
they also have another series which is putting those things inside an actual like context, but they put it in a story form. So it's like something like these people go to the supermarket and then they are trying to make a pie or something. And they're, oh,
Yeah.
how do I, like, I'm asking for this and stuff. So there's some
Yeah. Yeah.
context to it, and all the stories flow with one another. So it's a bit more interesting in that sense. Yeah, so that's where I started picking up Dutch. But when my schedule got busy again, I couldn't do it. So
Yeah.
I went back to lessons. But I
Yeah.
still go to these websites because I mean I have the unlimited access anyway.
Mhm.
So I just continue using them when I have like snippets of time when I'm free.
Yeah. And what about the free resources? What if you would have to list a few of your favorite ones?
Free resources. Actually, because like learndutch.org, that website, it does have free stuff as well. Like
Yeah.
the videos are all freely available online. It's just I think the exercises and some of the video series are not free. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in general, Arabic Blooms and Learn Dutch has free stuff, which is great.
Yeah.
Outside of these, I actually don't use anything. I have stopped using Duolingo because the ads are driving me crazy.
Yeah.
There's an
Yeah.
ad after every single
It
exercise, and
is annoying. It is annoying.
I'm like,
I
I'm not paying for this.
and I don't know if you have the same experience, but I think the it's quite repetitive. Like I started using Duolingo in 2013,
Hmm.
and I use it really intensively 5, 6, 7 years maybe. I stopped using it intensively maybe around 4 or 5 years ago, and
Hmm.
I mostly use the desktop version, and they had usually much more variety in the phrases. But now I think per lesson they have just 4 or 5 different phrases, or I'm not
Hmm.
sure. Do you have the same experience?
Yeah. I started using Duolingo, when it was getting popular back around the same time that you started using it, I think it's like 2015 around there.
Yeah.
It was a good thing at that point in time because there were no ads at that time, I think. And then I think there was a hack whereby if you use the desktop version, you had unlimited lives.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just used the desktop
Yeah.
version. But then slowly when they started to like restructure the thing and then restructure, I think now there's a new structure instead of the like, well, I don't know what it's called, but yeah, slowly when they started having more ads, when they realized that hack, and then yeah, now the variety is getting like smaller in terms of, as you said, the example. So I was like, yeah, I think I gotta stop using this.
Yeah.
Yeah, fortunately, there was also the period of time where I was getting a bit more busy in school, so I couldn't really do it anymore. And I really stopped for a period of time and I realized actually when I started going for classes, I didn't really need to use Duolingo anymore. So it
Yeah.
never made me want to re-download it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I also haven't been using it for like 5 years until like recently when my friend was like, hey, there's this like friend streak function. So I was like, okay, I will download it and see how it is now.
Yeah.
But I really got so annoyed after every single exercise when Super Duolingo appears and tries to
Uh,
entice me to buy it to
yeah.
buy. I was like, you can do this like once per chapter, but not once every exercise.
Yeah.
So I was like, I cannot take this anymore. So I just deleted it again.
Yeah. But in the beginning of your learning journey with different languages, you got some benefit for using it. It was okay, or what do you think?
I would say I didn't really reap a lot of benefits from Duolingo. I think it was more of a like in the earlier stages, it was good to either I say good for two things. One, if I wanted to try out whether I was truly interested in a particular language to pursue it further, in a sense that, like for example, if I want at the point when I had that sign to do Arabic, I was like, okay, first I need to see whether I can take this. So I went to
Yeah.
Duolingo, the desktop version, and I tried to do some of that. I was like, okay, this is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Although I don't really like the Arabic Duolingo because they really force you to know how they transliterate it in English. So I was very annoyed at that. But that was even more motivation for me to learn the script. But yeah, so that was one reason. The other reason was before that in school when I was learning French, I think it was more of a good way to consistently work with the vocabulary. But after that, when I stopped using it, I was like, okay, I can do that on my own. Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so all
Right.
is well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it was okay in the beginning, and when I was like, I had rusty Italian and some
Mm.
other languages, but like scraping the rusts off, like 2013, like a few years after that. But I would say since 2018 or 19, I've mainly hunted for the interesting phrases because I've also made videos about like Duolingo in real life, like the craziest
Mm.
phrases, how they would look like in real life.
Ah.
But I also haven't had time to do that much during the last year.
Mm.
What about other applications? Busuu, Babbel, Mondly, Speakly, Closemaster. Have you tried any of those or?
Okay, so I don't think I've tried. I think I've tried Close Master before, but I don't remember my experience about it. I think it was a good resource at a period of time, but because
Yeah,
I think it was a good resource because it was a good way to practice putting words into context. Because I think they had a way better sentences than Duolingo. And I think it was catered to each level as well. But um mainly due to my schedule, I just didn't use any of this and focused on my online classes. So that's why I
yeah,
never tried any more apps. Because I tried Close Master because I heard it was really, really good on Twitter. But and I do admit it is good, but
yeah,
yeah, ultimately I think it still depends on how much time you have.
yeah, 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 yeah. And for speaking, you mainly use italki, or have you also tried finding language buddies from HelloTalk, Tandem.com, or just contacted your friends and said, "Hey, let's start practicing"? Or how have you gotten the speaking practice in your target languages?
Um, Okay, so for speaking practice, I would say that for the languages that we do speak in Singapore, it's good because I do have friends who do speak them. So we do speak them whenever we meet. But mostly I would say it's texting. So
Yeah.
that is for that. For French, yeah, I have weekly French discussions, so that's where we have it. But before that, actually during COVID, we had like a, I think it was like a book club or something on Discord. It was basically a group of people from Twitter, and then we had a book club on French classics, which
Wow.
was really
Yeah.
mind-blowing for me because
Yeah.
French classics is another thing. And these people are so passionate about it that I was like, okay, this is a challenge for me, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was it. Other than that, no, I don't have any yeah, I don't do much speaking practice outside of class. Fortunately for Arabic, I also have uh in-person classes here in Singapore. So I try my best to speak it as much as possible with my classmates and outside of class as well, since we have like a group. Yeah, but as usual, it's mainly uh stuck to texting lah. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there some resources you would hope there would be for certain skill like reading, writing, listening, speaking for a certain language currently? Or do you have, are you content with the existing ones in your, uh, yeah,
I would
currently?
say I would say that I am pretty content with what I have now, at least because for the levels that I am at, I'm pretty comfortable with the resources that I'm working with. Although I would be pretty happy to okay, but I say this, but at the same time, it's my schedule that limits me.
Yeah.
I yeah, I would say that definitely I think speaking is the thing that most people struggle with. So if I think if there was something that was a bit more spontaneous, you know, like definitely everybody's gonna say have a AI chatbot, right? Because that is the easiest way for people who are busy, because you can just chat with that thing anytime.
Yeah.
But other than that, I would say I think most of the things I'm pretty content with because the languages that I'm learning are not hard to find online in a sense.
Yeah. 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 I didn't have that much speaking practice before 2021. Then I contacted during COVID like all my friends and some. I also found on tandem.com some language buddies, and then I had during that year a really good like routine. I had maybe 4 or 5 language buddies, and I maybe practice every day, even up to 4 or 5 hours, like with
Mm.
video calls, and it was really intensive. It was so intensive that one of my language partners became my wife that year. Yes. And
That's
a
great.
few, yeah, yeah, yeah. And a few of the other ones I didn't know super well that at that time, but now they are like really, really good friends.
Mm.
Now is the most important question to you. When are you planning to learn Finnish or a language spoken in Finland?
It is on my list. It is on my
Oh,
list.
really?
I would say that I have tried to learn Norwegian before.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the closest things to that side of the world that I have
Uh,
tried.
yeah, yeah,
But I would say that it wasn't successful in a sense because I think it's the time zone difference, you know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I think the time zone is always a problem. Yeah, but it is on my list. It will be there eventually. It's somewhere there, or maybe you know when another like a COVID thing arises and the
Yeah,
Arabic thing comes, maybe that will be it. But
yeah, yeah,
as of now, I have 5 languages on my plate to learn, so
yeah.
that will be hopefully soon.
Yeah, I understand. You have a busy schedule and so many languages, and like
Yeah.
you probably have experience like I as well. When you have more and more languages, it becomes like more difficult to manage because you
Mm,
have all the other things going on. Like in my case, like small baby and
Mm,
my studies and everything. So it's not easy to fit
yeah.
everything and get a good routine practicing
Mm,
languages.
yeah.
Is there anything else that we didn't discuss that you would want to mention? Language
Mm,
related or anything, culture or
not that I can think of. I think we covered quite a good range of topics from education system in Singapore, what kind of languages are used in Singapore, how they are taught in Singapore,
yeah,
uh, and also about my different language experiences, I guess. Yeah, I think it's a good range of topics.
yeah. Maybe I will give you a final question.
Mm.
So would you choose A, speaking 10 largest languages of the world, like perfectly, or 1,000 smallest ones, and you would lose your like other languages which are not in the top 1,000 smallest.
That's a hard question.
You can also
Uh,
comment if you would, if it would change something, if you can like keep the ones that you know now.
I would say that so it's either I can speak 10 of the most popular languages
Yeah,
fully, or thousands of the less popular languages.
yeah, top 1,000 smallest ones,
Okay.
and perfectly like the 10 biggest or the 1,000 smallest.
Okay. I would say I would say I would pick I would say I would pick the 10 most popular ones.
Yeah,
Uh because well, I guess the biggest difficulty that I face now is not having people to practice with. So
yeah,
if I would learn, I would say that even though that I might be interested in other languages, but if I don't have anyone to speak them with, then at some point I would lose it.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah, but I would say that I would say this actually shaped in one way or another the my choice of languages in learning. In a sense that uh other than Arabic, um the the languages that I have learned are things that I have friends speaking them. Like even though Dutch, I really only have one Dutch friend. Okay, and she's from Belgium. She's half Belgian, half Singaporean. She's the only one I speak Dutch with. But because we are such
yeah,
good friends in university,
yeah,
that I picked it up purely so that we could
yeah,
like gossip in Dutch, because no one else there could speak Dutch.
yeah, yeah,
And they don't offer Dutch in university. So I knew all the more that nobody would learn Dutch.
yeah,
Um, yeah, so it was a good reason. Yeah, but I think another reason why I pivoted towards Asian languages is also because I feel like as of now, um I think I don't know whether it's a bit controversial or not, but I think the English standard in is a bit varied in the region, you know. So like sometimes when you speak English to people, it's not that they don't get it, it's that it might be a bit hard to communicate with one another if you don't really have a translator or tour guide with you
yeah.
in the Asian region. Although this is getting better, but
Hmm.
I think in the Western side of the world, more people can at least communicate in English as
Yeah,
opposed to the Eastern side of the world, which
yeah,
is why I also appreciate the Asian culture a bit more. I guess it's because it's like more closer to home.
yeah,
So at the same time, I pivot towards the Asian languages a bit more.
yeah,
And yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
What about would you rather speak all the languages of the world, but you wouldn't be able to read and write, or would you rather be able to read and write all the languages, even the extinct ones, the ancient ones, but you wouldn't be able to speak, but you can understand, so you have listening, so but you would have to write your
Mm.
answer. So which
Ah,
one?
okay. So it's either speaking or reading and writing. Okay.
Yeah.
I would pick the speaking because I love talking to people.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And I mean now, even now over texting, I mean, okay, this is also a thing for like the older generations over here. Sometimes they don't text, they just voice message me because I think sometimes they don't know how to type the word either.
Yeah,
So we
yeah.
just voice chat all the time. So I would rather speak everything than to read and write. Unfortunately, because as we grow older, the only way that we can retain our memory of vocabulary is to write stuff down.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that's the limit. But if I could learn everything just based on speaking,
Mhm.
I would gladly take it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Don't escape yet. We will end the episode, but I have a few things before we will end with you. But with the listeners, I want to say thank you for listening and see you in the next episode. Bye.